6 months ago, Denny Hamlin was suing NASCAR in federal court. Today, he's sitting in the room helping NASCAR make decisions. That's not a peace treaty. That's a power shift. Here's the update. Denny Hamlin, co-owner of 23XI Racing alongside Michael Jordan, says NASCAR has held up its end of the deal completely since the antitrust settlement with 23XI and Front Row Motorsports last year. That lawsuit didn't even make it to a 9th day of trial before it got resolved, and the terms weren't small. Teams now get a cut of international revenue. The old 3-strike penalty system is gone, replaced by a 5-strike model. Teams collect a third of intellectual property revenue. And charters, the things that essentially function as franchise rights in NASCAR, are now permanent, with revenue terms still to be worked out alongside the next media rights deal. Hamlin's bottom line: NASCAR delivered on every single promise. To understand why this matters, you have to remember how ugly this got. This wasn't a disagreement over a penalty or a rules package. This was 23XI and Front Row taking NASCAR to federal court over how the sport's entire business model treats its teams, accusing the sanctioning body of operating like a monopoly with no real competition for control of the charter system. That's about as close to a civil war as stock car racing gets. Team owners versus the organization that runs the sport they all depend on. So when a lawsuit that contentious ends in genuine cooperation instead of years of bitterness, that's worth paying attention to. It signals NASCAR didn't just want the lawsuit to disappear, it wanted the relationship to actually heal, because a fractured garage hurts everyone, including NASCAR itself. Now here's where this gets interesting from a power structure standpoint, because the headline isn't really the money. Hamlin revealing he's now in regular contact with NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell and sitting on a competition committee alongside names like Chad Nouse, Wally Brown, and Travis Geisler. That's a structural change to how NASCAR governs itself. Think about what that committee represents. Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, Team Penske. These are the organizations with the most championships, the most resources, and now formal input into things like the next super speedway package. For decades, NASCAR operated top-down. The sanctioning body made the rules, teams adapted. What Hamlin is describing is something closer to a league office working with a players association, owners actually shaping competition policy instead of just reacting to it. Is that smart or risky for NASCAR? Honestly, it's smart, but it's not without risk. Bringing your biggest, richest teams into the room to help write the rules can build buy-in and stability. It can also tilt future decisions toward the interests of NASCAR's giants, Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, at the expense of smaller single-car teams who don't have a seat at that table. If this committee becomes the permanent model going forward, the next storyline to watch is whether mid-tier organizations start pushing back, wanting representation of their own. Reaction here is genuinely mixed, and that's what makes it compelling. One side of the fan base sees this as proof the system finally bent toward the people actually fielding the cars, drivers and owners getting real influence instead of just absorbing whatever NASCAR decided. That's a win fans have wanted for years. The other side is more skeptical. Some longtime observers are asking whether this new cooperation is just NASCAR managing a public relations problem after a lawsuit it didn't want to keep fighting. Skeptics want to see this hold up over multiple seasons before calling it a real culture shift. So where does this go from here? Best case, this turns into a genuinely new model for how NASCAR operates. Owners and the sanctioning body collaborating on competition packages, revenue sharing, actually working as intended. And the charter system stabilizing the sport financially for the next decade. That outcome makes NASCAR healthier from the top of the garage to the bottom. Worst case, the goodwill is temporary. Once the next round of media rights negotiations heats up, which Hamlin himself flagged as still unresolved, old tensions over money resurface, and this current cooperation turns out to be a honeymoon period instead of a permanent shift. So here's the real question. Is this committee setup actually good for the sport long term, or did NASCAR just hand its biggest teams more power under the disguise of partnership? Tell me where you land in the comments. I want to see this debate play out. And if you want breakdowns like this every week, make sure you're subscribed. We're not going anywhere.